Okay, thank you very much for joining. So today we are starting our new unit, which is Strategic Management Information System. So in today's session, we're going to look into learning outcome 1. So we're going to understand the links between information system and organizational strategy. So in our unit aim, the learner will now develop an understanding of the importance of integrating organizational strategy with information system and the tools and techniques that can be used to analyze strategy. They will analyze business process and recommend improvements. So when it comes to information, so we know information nowadays is everything. By having information, we have a clear understanding of the picture and what we are trying to achieve. So when it comes to information, we need to differentiate this because there is a difference between data and information. So what do we mean by data? Data is simply some raw material which has to be now extracted and has to be now manipulated in order for us to obtain information. So I'll say data gives us a starting point. It gives us the necessity point for us to obtain data. So information is simply the collection of this data and facts that are now organized in a way that will now allow us to give them additional value. So when it comes to characteristic of valuable information, what do we mean by characteristics? We need to give them some attributes, and by attributes, we need to give them meaningful information, so meaningful data, such as when it comes to a person, could be his height, gender, age, ethnicity. So these are all entities that will now allow us to classify and characterize our information. Also, it is important to understand the system and system elements when it comes to a computing system. So by system, we're now looking into a set of elements or components that interact to accomplish a goal. So what do we mean? It's simply a combination of components or attributes which have to work together. So our system, if some components fail to contribute and work together, this will now cause some issues and it will now not be possible for our system to run and work efficiently. So this will now cause our system to break or run into some sort of system errors. So there are different components when it comes to our system. So in order for us to achieve this, we will need to have inputs. So this means we are receiving some data. Processing mechanism. So this we are looking into the logic behind our system. And conclusively, we need to have some output. So we need to be able to return some information, some important data from our system. So now we look into information system. So let's define what an information system is. This is a set of interrelated elements or components that collect input, manipulate them through processing, and disseminate via output data and information and provide a feedback mechanism to meet an objective. So information system pronounced as separate letters and short of information system or information service. For many computers, networking and data management, other companies refer to Department of IT, Information Technology, and Management Information Service. Here we have a simple schema of how this will now be processed. So we have mentioned that everything starts from our input. It will now be processed, manipulated, and we will now generate an output. So we receive some feedback from our initial phase, and through our feedback and our user experience, we can now improve, we can now constantly improve our system. So input, which is simply the activity of gathering and capturing data, whether it goes into the computer. Then processing, as we know, is simply the action of converting or transforming data into meaningful information. And output is simply what we're going to get from this whole process. So we have manual versus computerized system. So when it comes to working in the IT department and you have some type of system in place, they'll now create some sort of automation, some sort of computerized system where do not require the human intervention of a specialist. So nowadays is a massive debate because automation has now cut down the amount of work that an IT specialist had to do. But at the same time, there are some certain things that automation will not be able to do, and therefore you now require the human intervention, and you now have to manually input some data. Also, we have computer-based information system, where it's simply the combination of hardware, software, database, telecommunication system, people within the organization, and the procedures. So basically, we're looking into the management. Let's look into them and analyze them. So when it comes to physical computer part, we have hardware, which we all know it is the physical, tangible one. Software, which is the brain and whatever the commands we've been assigning to do. And then we have database, which is simply going to store the amount of data that we are processing. Telecommunication allows us to communicate remotely with other entities. Networking is at the fundamental, and it allows communication to work efficiently. And then we have people and procedure, where we're looking into our people working for us, and the procedure is basically the management that goes behind this. So hardware, you can see equipment used to perform input, processing, and output activities. Software, where is the computer program that govern the operation of the computer. And then you give the computer instruction or data. Database, as we've seen, is an organized collection. So database is the organized collection of fact and information. And then we have telecommunication, which is the electronic transmission of signal for communication, which will now enable the organization to link computer system with our network. And we have network. The purpose of the network, which could be local area network or wide area network or metropolitan network, depending on the type of connectivity we will now need. And altogether, they're going to make our internet. While we also have an intranet, which is a closed system, and is a network that uses information technology within the organization. Then people, we know that they are the most important element in the most computer-based information system. And this will now include who manage, run, program, and maintain the system. And then we have procedure, which is simply the strategies and management which are in place in the company in order for them to work efficiently. Now we're going to look into the type of information systems. So we have organizational dimension, management dimension, and technological dimension. So by organizational, it is simply how our information system will have the standard operating procedure and culture of the organization. So how our technology will be used is now dictated by our organizational dimension. So the metrics of the company will now define how things has to work within the organization. Management dimension, which is simply the procedure that has to be followed by each directors or managers and has to be now respected and understood by the employees. And technology dimension will now look into the carrying out the simple tasks, the day-to-day tasks of the employees in order for them to make the business working. Then we have transaction processing system, where information system that process data resulting from the occurrence of the business transaction. So the objectivities are to provide transaction in order to update records and generate reports. So the transaction is performed in two ways: batching processing or online transaction processing. Or some example could be payroll system or stock control system. When it comes to managing information system, will now be designed to take relatively raw data available through a transaction processing system and convert them into a summarized and aggregated form of manager, usually in reports format. Also, type of information system, you have decision support system, where it is an interactive information system that provides information, model, and data manipulation tool to help making the decision in a semi-structured and unstructured situation. Also, now we have three general type of information systems. So we have in financial, operational, and strategic. So by financial system, it is the basic computerization of the accounting. So it is a system that will look into budgeting, finance, operation, and organization. So this will now be similar and ambiguous in the organization because the computer has proven to be ideal for the mechanization and control of the financial system. Operational system, or also called service system, will now help to control the details of the business, while strategic system are those that will now link the business and the computer strategies. So strategic information system are information systems that are developed in response to corporate business initiatives. They might deliver a product or a service that it is a lower cost and it is differentiated. Then we have competitive advantage. So what do we mean by this? It is a general agreement that strategic system are those information systems that might be used to gain competitive advantages. So more common ways of thinking about gaining competitive advantages could be deliver a product or a service at a lower cost, deliver a product or a service in differentiated. So we're now going to diversify our platform and where we're going to selling our product. So we could also focus on specific market segment. So we now identify our audience and who are going to be our potential customer. Also, we need to look into innovation. We have to be able to constantly improve our product by gathering positive or negative feedback from our user experience in order for us to develop a product or service through the use of a computer. And we can now use new appreciability form available for offering. And this was everything for today's session. Is there any question for me?
No, there's no question.
If there is no question, then I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Is it possible for you to join at 10:30 tomorrow instead of 11?
Okay.
Just
Possible.
half an hour earlier.
Okay.